Hi, I'm Jo Radner, and the story that I'm going to tell you is called Eyebrows. When I was in 7th grade, which was a while ago, all the girls were in love with Clay Davis on account of his extraordinary eyebrows. He had wavy blonde hair combed back, and then these dark, bushy eyebrows that framed eyes that were as blue as the Caribbean, and if you looked into them, you could drown. I never looked. I was new in town. I was new in the school. I was new in a school that had boys. I had no idea what all the popular girls were giggling and chattering about on the playground. In my spare time, I walked in the woods and I studied salamanders. In fact, everything I knew about sex at that time, I learned from salamanders. But it turned out that in 7th grade, in my school, the boys and the girls didn't pay much attention to each other, except Wednesday nights. Every Wednesday night, every 7th grade mother drove her son or her daughter to the elementary school for Mr. Richards' ballroom dancing class. That's how long ago it was. It was always the same. In the gym, the boys would be sitting on a row of folding chairs on one side and the girls on the other. Down at the end would be Mr. Richards' deadpan piano player. And in the middle, the man himself, suave in black, with twinkling patent leather shoes. He would demonstrate a step. And then he'd choose one of the girls to demonstrate it with him. He never picked me. He usually picked Judy Mason. And I always thought that was really funny because she was only about half as tall as he was. But he just bent down and they twinkled together. And then it was our turn. At a signal, the boys rose up in a phalanx and they walked straight across the gym. You had to invite the girl right opposite you. We all got partners, and we made the best of it. Well, I was beginning to think that I could handle 7th grade. And then in January, the class mothers announced we were going to have our very first social dance. But it was a leap year, so they explained it would be a Sadie Hawkins dance and the girls would invite the boys. Fine. I didn't have to invite anybody. I didn't have to go. I was calm for weeks. The girls giggling. I wasn't troubled until the Tuesday before the Saturday of the dance, when all of a sudden at recess I was surrounded by a platoon of the most popular girls. Hi! Hi? We hear you haven't invited anybody to the dance. We think you should invite Clay Davis because he likes you. Clay Davis has never said 2 words to me. That's because he likes you. I saw through them. None of them had had the courage to invite him, and I was their last hope that he could come. But I wanted them to like me, so I said yes. And that night, when I made the most terrible phone call of my whole life and invited him, there was a long silence. I could imagine those eyebrows knotting. And then he said, "Thank you, I'd like to go. My mother and I will pick you up at 7 o'clock. At 7 o'clock on Saturday, I was ready. I was wearing my new poodle skirt. It was felt with yarn poodles embroidered on it. Clay came in, he helped me on with my coat. We got in the car, in the back seat, and his mother talked to us all the way to the school. When we went in, it was something the same. The boys all sat on one side and the girls all sat on the other. But it was different. There were balloons, and no Mr. Richards, and no piano player. There was a record player. We were going to have real music. Well, now the first dance was a waltz. You're supposed to dance the first dance with your date. So those blue eyes came right across the gym to me, and we danced. And then, of course, we went back to our sides. The next dance was a tango, my favorite. And those blue eyes came across at me once more, and then they veered off, and he invited Judy Mason. That happened a lot that night. They even won the Lindy Hop contest while I sat there combing the poodles on my skirt. We danced the last dance together. You're supposed to. It was another waltz. And then Clay helped me on with my coat, and we went out and got in the car, and Mrs. Davis said, "How was the dance?" "Wonderful, wonderful." We got home. I went in the house, and my mother said, "How was the dance?" "Wonderful." "Oh, I'm so relieved. You know, you're more than a foot taller than Clay Davis. When he went to help you on with your coat, I almost brought him a stepladder." I didn't laugh. I wasn't thinking anything was funny. I didn't want to think about how Clay and I would have looked dancing together. I didn't want to realize that Judy Mason was the only girl in 7th grade who was shorter than Clay Davis. I just wanted to go to my room and hibernate like a salamander.